Welcome to St. Patrick's Day. It's March 17, 2022. Your day weather podcast brought to you exclusively by Cowboy State Daily, Wyoming's news authority. Visit them at cowboystatedaily.com and on their Facebook page. Folks, the weather on the St. Patrick's Day kind of messy, especially over Colorado, southern Wyoming, western Nebraska, western Kansas, down into northern New Mexico. This is going to be an unsettled pattern as that disorganized storm we've been talking about all week is slowly rolling through the region today. It's disorganized, but there are pockets of heavier moisture out there. This is a real typical wet March snow. Really something good to see. Yes, it's causing travel problems, but we need the precipitation. After that, we're going to have a nice warm up. It's going to be spring-like Friday and Saturday and into Sunday for most areas. 40s, 50s, even some 60-degree temperatures coming. So in typical March-like fashion, you get a bit of snow, you warm up, and then it's all gone. But rain and snow will be moving in from the west coast, the Pacific Northwest, and into the northern and central Rockies, and into parts of the Great Basin by Sunday. And then by overnight Sunday into Monday, rain, snow, and thunder will be spreading across the central Rockies and the central high plains. Now, we've been talking all week about a lot of question marks with this storm, and they remain. It's going to take another couple of days to sort the track of this out, because the track is going to heavily determine the winners and losers on this storm. But we are confident that a pretty decent storm is going to come together, and it's really going to be impactful and very beneficial when it comes to precipitation in some areas. If you end up missing this storm or not getting much out of it, and you're looking for moisture, the good news is it's just not this storm. We've got at least two more over the next couple of weeks coming that could be impactful. So we're starting to see an active pattern here for the rest of March and into early April. Today's satellite photo shows the swirl of clouds very well, with the most organized part of the storm moving into southern Colorado and northern New Mexico. You can see the swirl of clouds right here circling around the low pressure system, with high pressure coming in behind it. And this high pressure is what's going to clear out the skies across Utah, western Wyoming, Montana, and Idaho, and into the Great Basin today, and bring the mild temperatures for Friday and into the day on Saturday. You can see by noon today, we have the low over northeastern New Mexico headed into the Midwest. It just can't get itself to become a big, intense storm, but it's already been very productive. Here's the next storm system that's going to be the troublemaker as we get into Sunday night, late into Monday. The storm system is going to go from the Aleutians all the way to Arizona in about 2 days. And that's why we're having trouble getting a grip on the storm. When you move a storm from very high latitude to lower latitude very quickly, there's a lot of physics going on, a lot of dynamics in the atmosphere. It has a lot to do with the Coriolis effect of the curvature of the Earth and the spin of the Earth. And when you change latitude quickly, there's a lot going on there. And that is why the computer modeling is having difficulty with it, along with the change in the seasons. Change in seasons is always a time of year where things get a little bit chaotic. As we go forward, with this system moving and diving south and east, it is going to be bringing us some weather late in the weekend and early next week. But before the current storm moves out, this is what will happen through the rest of today and into tomorrow morning. The heavier moisture in Colorado and Kansas. This area desperately needs rain and snow, and they're going to get it. So that'll be really good news for them. Then on the northern areas here, we do have travel problems and snowy conditions on I-80 and also on I-25 and I-70 and I-76. So travelers, keep that in mind. This is what the snowfall forecast looks like. A lot of the snow has already fallen. Really, it's not much more left in the system, another 4 to 6 hours. For most areas by afternoon, this will all be clearing out. Here we go. This is by noon Saturday. Here's the low up into the Gulf of Alaska and a trough forming in advance of it as it heads this way. As we go into the weekend, though, at first, a high pressure ridge and mild air gets driven in ahead of these lows. This time of year, when you have a big warm up, that indicates something upstream, and that something is usually a low pressure system. So southwest winds aloft will bring us a nice spring-like pattern for Friday, Saturday, and into early Sunday. And look at these temperatures by noon Sunday along and east of the divide. Across Canada and the western United States and the central U.S., spring-like conditions. But the green and blue here, well, that's because of the lows digging on in. So you always got to be careful this time of year. A big warm-up usually precedes the next cool down and the next wave of colder weather. And here we go. See how this gets stretched out, this trough, and it's digging all the way into Arizona by Sunday afternoon. So from today, Thursday, by Sunday afternoon, it goes all the way to this direction very, very quickly. Then you have the dynamics that go on when you take a trough and you take it over the continental divide. That terrain feature, the continental divide in these low pressure systems, also makes things very complicated as the terrain interacts with the storm system. Now let's go and take a look at the jet stream winds and why this system is digging so far south. This is the jet stream wind by Sunday afternoon. You can see it coming in very strongly south. So that's why the storm is going to go so far south into Arizona right here by Sunday afternoon. But what will happen is this very strong jet stream wind will come in around very quickly by Monday morning out into the plains here. And this is what's going to cause low pressure to form probably in northeastern New Mexico very quickly by Monday morning, bringing upslope conditions into the high plains. So let's compare the computer modeling like we've done over the last couple of days, and you can sort of see some better agreement, but we're not there yet. The European model has a well-formed 500 millibar low by noon Monday over northeast New Mexico. This is a classic pattern to give eastern Colorado heavy moisture, as well as western Kansas and Nebraska, and maybe far southeastern Wyoming as well. There is going to be precipitation in this area here as the storm digs into the Rockies. Then another area of precipitation develops east of the Rockies as the storm jumps to the divide. So the European has a nice formed 500 millibar low over northeastern New Mexico. The Canadian, similar. Not that much different. Then as we look at the GFS, or the American model, it's a little bit further south and not quite as well formed yet. And from the Japan Meteorological Agency, this system is actually further west and slower. A slower moving storm would be more impactful. So we're getting better agreement, but I can tell you there's just enough disagreement to really have a hard time nailing down where the heavier moisture will be. If we were to take the American model, the GFS model, you can see that the heavier precipitation is going to be right here. But as we've been mentioning, it could be further south, it could be further north, or somewhere in between. Ultimately, though, this is a system that is going to bring badly needed precipitation to some of you. Unfortunately, I think for central and northern Wyoming and Montana, in this area here, you're going to get some rain and snow out of this. You will. It's just going to be much lighter. But for the hard red winter wheat areas of Texas, Kansas, Nebraska, this area here, which really, really needs this spring moisture for that winter wheat crop, and for folks watching wheat markets, you know how crazy it's been. This is going to be good news if we get this much precipitation. Even if the moisture shifts north or south, I think eastern Colorado, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas are going to get moisture regardless. I think the question marks we have will be for the front range of Wyoming and Colorado and how impactful of a storm it will be for the front range areas. And this is something we're just going to have to work on here over the next couple of days to get a better handle on. And you can see the latest drought monitor is where we are going to see the heaviest moisture with this storm most likely here. So there's going to be some help here in terms of drought conditions with this storm and hitting those areas that really need it. We talked about there's other storms coming. A week later, there's another impressive trough coming into the Great Basin and Rockies around March 28th timeframe. And then going out to April 1st, another cold, moist trough comes in. And you see this pattern right here? That'll be followed by another one. So I think for the rest of March and into early April, there's going to be a decent-sized storm about every 5 or 7 days. And in between the storms, you're going to have nice, mild spring weather. I would call that a typical March-April pattern, which is what we want to see to get snowpack built up again and get better moisture across the lower elevation. So that is encouraging. Have yourself a great Thursday. Have a happy St. Patrick's Day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.